In Nevada, Steve Sisolak has conceded to Joe Lombardo in the Nevada's governor race.
Oh my God!
This is a flip.
Yes!
The state of Nevada has just flipped to a Republican governor from a Democrat.
God! It's been 4 years in Nevada. Thank you, Jesus.
You live in Nevada?
No, I've worked on every campaign in Nevada that exists.
Right on.
That's how I started my political. That is
so how do you really feel about
I'm
this?
so excited right now. That is the best time. Okay, you guys just that guy sucks so bad. I am so happy that Nevada is going red. Bet on red, guys. Bet on red.
Do you want to talk about this
Unless
a little
you're
bit?
communist.
I want to talk about this platform thing because I have an idea.
Let's
How's
chat about this governor.
Laxalt's numbers at?
Laxalt's not looking good. It's tightening up. So in Nevada, Adam Laxalt is where are we at?
Yeah, but
It's down to he's
very
up by less than
confident.
1,000 votes, like 700, 800
Yeah, but the
votes
votes that are coming in
are continually skewing Democrat. He was up by a lot more, and it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. So they're actually. I was reading.
Really.
He may call for a recount or file.
He absolutely should.
100%. Same thing with Kerry Lake. Do not stop. Fight it until finally
100%.
they just say get out of the courtroom.
Especially in Nevada. So last election, I was the last person to leave. I was the last one on the last plane out of Nevada that didn't live there, right? That worked the election. Not the RNC people who were totally corrupt, took the money and ran the next day. But Nevada is a place where I would always do a recount. Always. And the thing is, it's not even possible, though, because it's like...
And I also want to add that Lauren Boebert is winning.
I'm not going to say.
I think Lauren Boebert's basically won at this point. Lauren Boebert's up 2,000, about 1,000, just over 1,000 votes in Colorado's third with 99% in, so she probably won.
I hope. I mean, you would think she's so popular, like to her people.
Well, but mail-in voting makes
again,
that
100%.
Yeah, Democrats get people who don't know what's going on to vote.
And their kids.
Whereas Republicans rely on people to actively get up and go vote.
Feel
that's
something.
super
and
difficult.
And that's why what you just said actually really matters. And I get in arguments with people about this all the time where they're like, oh, who cares about the culture? I don't want to talk about the culture war. I just want to talk about, we got to talk about like the votes and the elections. How are you meaning to create the kind of candidates and the kind of citizens that want to get up and vote for the type of candidates that we need to have if you don't have the culture element? That's why it matters so much. I'm not saying one's more important than the other. Obviously, I'm partial to culture because that's what I do. That's, but I also do politics. So it's like, without like educating your country, you're not going to get the outcomes that you want.
Yeah, I think you need the technological element too. And to piggyback off this conversation about platforming and how distribution, the future of content distribution.
I'm
I
so
think about this.
stoked about that.
I think the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems with content distribution is piracy, internet piracy, where someone will take your content and repost it somewhere. So if you could somehow have content so that there's tags in it or something that every time it's reposted somewhere else, it's still tracked back to the creator, and you actually encourage sites to pirate content and sell it, and you get 98% of the sale. The site that sells it for you gets 2%, and then everyone's going to be selling your art. They're going to have websites of people selling tens of thousands of movies for you.
That's not dumb. That is a smart way of doing things, and that is something that we need to look at, because it's not that I'm against. I mean, look, I grew up not paying for music. I grew up not paying for all the movies I've seen. Okay, I get it. But the problem is I have investors. I have people that I made a promise to, a fiduciary duty that I need to pay back. You can't just let this stuff out for free.
Yeah. So but I don't know if you can.
Or you make terrible movies that go up on YouTube that are like, just.
What are you doing, Luke?
Made out of crap.
Enjoying myself.
Like,
yeah.
So I agree. I think that tracking.
I didn't say a bad word. I said crap.
I'm doodling pictures of
tracking the money is key, and if you could somehow meta tag the content itself, like the movie, and then just allow, because piracy is going to happen. We can't stop it.
The crazy
People
thing,
making
Tim,
copies
is
of stuff.
I'm just drinking coffee.
Well, that's probably
you don't have an excuse.
It's the coffee.
You don't have an excuse.
What's in
tonight.
that coffee?
You try it. It's nice. It's
caffeine.
Just black.
I don't want it. It's
I'm
too
drawing
late.
a picture.
I won't be able to sleep.
I'm drawing a picture of Bocus.
Got to drive me home.
Yeah, but going back, I mean, I think another big issue that we run into is the marketing dollars. How do you get the attention that you need in order to drive traffic to whatever platform you're on?
Make something interesting.
Well, I mean. Sure.
Sorry, that's the Daily Wire's biggest problem.
No.
Westerns for conservatives? Are you kidding me?
I think almost all Westerns were made for conservatives.
That's what I mean.
But that said, I just think that
surely they can improve on the genre. I mean, definitely.
I just did one. I just wrote one based on a graphic novel that we just shot in New Mexico with Stephen Dorff and Cole Hauser starring, and Jack Kilmer. Called Dead Man's Hand. That's based on the same company that I gave you that comic book, Rotten Tail. Source Point Press did a graphic novel, a Western, Dead Man's Hand, that we just finished shooting a couple of weeks ago, actually.
Have you experienced the wokeness? I mean, I know earlier there was talk about the pedophilia, but there's also the wokeness in the industry, which is also a big issue.
I mean, for me, I've been on my own path in the industry since day one. Really, growing up in the industry, I was a graffiti artist before I was an actor, and I kept hanging with all my buddies that I grew up doing graffiti art with.
What was your handle?
Hanging out.
If you don't mind.
My first one was Chrome, Krome. I got caught in 10th grade because me and my buddy Dapper were tagging high schools and junior highs on Sunday nights so that everybody would see our get-ups on Monday morning. It was a great way to get up. But and then I switched over to Pike, which is something that I still use. I still paint to this very day.
Were you in LA?
But yeah, I grew up in Los Angeles.
Where'd you go to high school?
North Hollywood High.
Okay.
Were you there too, Amanda?
Yeah.
That's one way to get motivated to go to school. The indoctrination centers that they call schools.
Oh man, yeah, North Hollywood High. We had back in the '80s. They used to put chains around the doors once school started in the morning and lock you in from the outside. And we had barbed wire fences, 12-foot high, all the way. It was like going to prison every day for 5-6 hours. But
it was safe. It was predominantly safe.
No, man, people got knifed, shot, beaten with pole. I saw a guy's shoulder get collapsed in the quad, and we had full-blown riots, and it was insane, man. It was absolutely insane going to in the '80s, the gang wars of the '80s, and everything else, and it was a wild time, no doubt.
Dude, make a movie about that. I want to see that.
They did a couple times. I went to school in the 90s in New York City, and again, metal detectors when you walk in, craziness that you can't even imagine. You can't even describe.
We had LAPD, or they still do, I'm sure, but in the 80s we had LAPD on campus, so you had like principal, assistant to principal, dean, assistant to dean, LAPD. We had 2 armed police officers on campus every day. We had a cop that drove around campus all day long, and still people got shot and stabbed and beaten and everything else. It was great times.
Chicago, you're just walking down the street and people start shooting at each other.
Yeah.
Oh, you know why half the time. Sometimes it's because the gangs will be like, just kill that person to prove your.
Yeah, that was going on in the 80s.
A lot of assassinations, though. They'll say like this guy they target.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we could move on topics, but just to cap off this talk about distribution models, you were saying that marketing money. You said that the key is.
Well, it's about driving traffic. How do you get the eyeballs on some content that you're trying to independently platform without a big distribution or major film company behind you or backing you? So there is a model to be able to do it, but where is it going to be platformed? That's the thing, and how do you get the money directly? So are you charging per view on the platform? People go in. What is it? It's not there yet. It doesn't exist yet. So I am interested in the future of platforming, but of original content. But right now, I have to go with the old model. I mean, I'm doing Lifetime movies for Lifetime Channel, writing and producing them, and they're very specific, genre oriented. They're sold there. They're sold to TF1 in France. They're guaranteed certain sales and all of that. So the profit margin is locked in for the investors. And and if one of them escapes and does better than it's expected to, great. But the protection for the investor and for everybody else involved creatively is doing these specifically genre films, that are guaranteed a certain sale on the front end, because a lot of distribution companies, they promise you a back end that you never get.
See, I don't want to live like that, though. See, that's the thing is like, you're right. You are correct. That is the model. That's the tried and true model that they taught us at school. That's been going on since forever. But I think I had a win doing it my way.
Absolutely.
And I want to keep pushing that envelope because I can't like announce what the idea is for the next thing because then it won't work, right? Because I just told everybody what it was. But I think I can break the machine. And I want to break the machine because you shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to be like stuck in this. I know exactly what you're talking about. I just did Cannes this year for the first time. And it was the most like depressing, gross experience of like walking around and every single country made the same 6 movies. And like you're like, this is not like the home of cinema, not to mention like the obsession with the Ukraine, where you would think that like the Ukrainian film had been like the cornerstone of European cinema for 100 years. It was so bananas. But I think I'm in a position that I can smash that. And I don't disagree with you. What you're describing is the model. And like I just don't want to live like that.
Yeah, there's
like,
a way to break the mold.
Hollywood.
There's a way to break the mold. I think it's easier with documentaries because documentaries have a different lasting. They have a different shelf life than
but what we're doing,
when
we're
you're
not
marketing
doing just
something,
docs though.
You know?
I mean, that's the thing is we have literally half the company's docs, half the company's scripted. And like I don't. So
I just mean in the grassroots, putting it out there and getting it on this platform, and then you find another platform, and then another one, and another one.
I fixed the PR element. I'll tell you what it is after the show.
Okay, cool. I look forward to it.
Amazon.
You gotta get me into that Mason that big thing near my place, the lodge.
I think women are not allowed into.
Certainly Jewish
some lodges.
I think there's all female lodges and all female organizations.
No, you can go look at it. They have
tours.
The Order
you
just
of the
can't
Eastern
go
Star,
up very high.
which is
they have George Washington's kind of Freemasonic site
here
in Washington.
So which is it? Do the Jews run everything, or is it the Masons? Because the Masons don't let you in if you're Jewish. Or
no,
so
that's not true.
Or is it?
This is from Battlestar Galactica.
So you're telling me
do you guys know what ship this is? This ship. Do you know what the ship is?
No.
From Battlestar Galactica.
It looks like a Kestrel.
I don't know exactly what it is. It was a gift. But have any of you seen Lord of the Flies? Have any of you read or seen Lord of the Flies?
No.
Okay, this is the conch shell. You can only talk if you're holding it.
I like it.
Oh, this is the conch shell.
Bring order to chaos.
Are you having a panic?
Well, I will
right
say,
now? Are you having a bit of a panic?
No, but I think the viewers are starting to complain a whole lot. So how about you hold the spaceship and you can start talking about your ideas?
You said Lord of the Flies. I just have to give a shout out to Balthazar Getty then, because that's one of me and him were best friends growing up together, and that was his first film. He did a great job as as the lead in that. This is fantastic. Now I'm distracted. I love models. I love miniatures and stuff. So this is just I could look at this all day. Yeah, I'm all about it. Now I forgot what we were talking about.
Oh, I don't know. Should we talk about something?
Let's
talk about stuff, Masons.
Let's whatever you guys want.
Well, the Mason conversation is pretty interesting.
Let's talk about that. What's going on with that Mason stuff?
Well, for me, I mean, I've been interested in kind of the conspiracy theories and stuff like that since I was a teenager, and when I found out that Freemasons were the Illuminati and all of this, I was like, wait a second, my grandfather and great grandfather were both Masons, and they sure as hell weren't involved in any kind of weird racket like that. And so I got more interested in the philosophical side of it and reading, some Masonic books and literature, and came to realize that it's more of a principled philosophical way of thinking and applying analogies, kind of, you could say construction analogies to life, really, But so I got interested in it from that aspect, and then when I got into my 20s, joined a lodge in San Antonio, Perfect Union Lodge number 10, around 1997, and did my 3 primary degrees up through the year 2000.
Yeah, I mean, Freemasonry is a lot of people call it a secret society. So obviously you can't talk about some of the secrets. So what are some of the secrets?
Yeah, you can talk about anything like that. The only thing you can't discuss are just the actual initiation rites and the dialogue that's used in the initiation.
Were you able to meet any kind of prominent people through it?
There's been, I've been to the Grand Lodge in London a number of times, to the tea room there, and there's definitely some pretty interesting folks that were hanging around there. But overall, my interest in it is purely philosophical and fraternal. I really enjoy traveling the world and going to other lodges and meeting other brothers who have the same kind of, philosophic mindset and curiosity.
Yeah, I know like Shaquille O'Neal is also like a Freemason. There's a lot of other prominent people that are also Freemasons.
Yeah, Prince Hall lodges are huge. They're very, very active. I'm pretty sure that I'm correct that he's in Prince Hall Lodge, which I have a number of good friends that are.
And is it true that they all go back to the ideology? Well, who was it who invented Freemasonry in the United States? Was it Albert Pike?
No, Albert Pike introduced Scottish Rite Freemasonry after the Civil War, which I'm really not into. I think that's more of the side that sort of is where the Illuministic side kind of comes from. And to me, I think they sponge off the Blue Lodge and by this thing of offering more light. So there's 33 degrees or 32 degrees with the 33rd being a bestowed degree, but they keep offering more light, more degrees, more this, and there's just nothing to it. It's the 3 primary degrees are the most sublime, and that's where you're going to get your aha moment.
What's a degree?
Well, those are the three initiations that you go through in Blue Lodge: Entered Apprentice, Fellow Craft, and Master Mason. And each one has kind of a different series of working tools that they're based on, and also you're going kind of through a death and resurrection, a death and resurrection ideology, like where you're letting go of your old self and opening up to the possibility of being able to recreate a whole new life for yourself as a new person based on, from the ground up. Meaning you can let go of everything that you've known from the past, have a clean slate, and then recreate yourself from that point forward.
Do you do the degrees like classes? Do you take classes, or is it is it just like work?
You have to have a mentor, because there's no way you can do the degree work alone, because you work with somebody else in the actual initiation. It's a Q&A back and forth, basically.
Do you have to read a lot of books, and then you have to go through a specific ritual to get to the next level, and then sometimes the ritual is like a test, and sometimes you pass the test and sometimes you don't, right?
Yes, and that has to do with the whole Q&A thing. It's there is a performative value to it, and what you learn from what you memorize and how you respond. And if you don't have all of this stuff down to a T, then you won't get passed on to the next degree. You have to repeat that again and again and again until you get it right. And the more that you read and understand about it, then it's the better off you are, for sure.
Can I just ask one thing about it? How does it comport with a belief in God?
You have to have a belief in God to be a Mason, because the Bible is the light of Masonry, but if you're a Muslim and you're a Mason, then it would be the Quran, or if you're a Jew and you're a Mason, then it would be the Old Testament versus the inclusion of the New Testament on it, or if you're Hindu, then it might be the Vedas, or every single lodge would potentially have a different
Gnosticism, where it's like based in like the Luciferian idea of like
absolutely
humanity
not.
Is the highest form.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No. I wouldn't say. In having read about the Cathari and the Albigensians and all that, I wouldn't necessarily even say that Gnosticism has that as its fundamental belief either. But I think it has more to do with the enlightenment of the human soul and the raising of oneself to a higher experience of consciousness.
I've always found Gnosticism makes a lot of sense in that it just kind of stands for like the knowledge that you have is the enlightenment, like the process is the enlightenment. Is that blasphemous to people of churches to say that Gnosticism is awesome? I mean, I don't know.
Well, it was to the Catholic Church, because the Crusades were against the Gnostics. The Second Crusades were against the Gnostics, and they went and all throughout southern France and Spain and murdered them by the tens of thousands. And traditionally, there's a through line of theory that ties Gnosticism to the original teachings of Christ and the original practices of the true Christians before the Christianity was usurped by the Roman Catholic Church, which was previous to that Mithraism. It was a pagan type belief system, which pagan is not even a correct term for it,
until they got obsessed with the Jews in Jerusalem.
Solomon plays a key factor.
I was just going to say, I literally just wrote Solomon's Temple. I was like, doesn't this go all the way back until the Knights of Templar, Solomon's Temple, and allegedly the secrets that they found there, and they used that kind of secrecy to allegedly fight against the Pope, right? Am I correct? Because I remember studying this like years and years and years ago.
Well, they said they found the treasure. They said that was the theory, is that the Knights Templar either found some old manuscripts or actual treasures or things like that they then brought back to Europe, and they were able to expand the Knights Templar as an order drastically because of this knowledge or whatever it was that they got a hold of, which is still a mystery to this day.
I've played Assassin's Creed. It was alien technology, wasn't it?
Makes sense.
Have you played?
I haven't played Assassin's Creed, but I'm familiar with what you're talking. I love the movie.
Yeah, I think I've seen. I don't know if I remember the movie, but in the first couple of games, it was the secret for like the progenitors of Earth, aliens, and like the apple was like some powerful object or something.
Yeah. Well, what's really fascinating about it is that the symbols are everywhere. The kind of is it sacred geometry, or is it just because you look at architecture, you look at corporate logos, you look at almost anything of prominence, you look at the landscape of how Washington D.C. is built.
Yes.
It all built on Freemasonic kind of architecture,
which is weird because it's a pentagram.
Also allegedly on like power ley lines as well.
Yes, that's true. But really, all of that comes out of the Tree of Life, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, and the pattern that it's made, and all of the different symbols come out of that. When you the Star of David.
That's an interpretation of the Tree of Life, though. That's an
interpretation. Let him
finish.
Because this is the fascinating
interpretation. It's the actual connection of all of the different the connection lines between the Sephirot. So you have the 10 Sephirot, and you have all of the connection points between them, and from all of those connection points, the symbolism comes out of it, and that goes into the sacred geometry of fractaling and everything else. So it's certainly, all of those symbols certainly do come out of the Tree of Life, but the Tree of Life itself comes out of an even more sublime symbol.
And doesn't it take it down to like how the human body is constructed?
Absolutely, the Tree of Life is laid right on top of the human body. You can tie that in with the chakraic systems. They're identical. They've just split them on the Tree of Life. They've split several of them into dynamic polars, but when you combine them all together, it's the same 7 to 9 chakras that you generally find in a normal system.
But you can understand.
Sounds like a lot of stuff that Ian's talking about. You had him at fractals and the aligned chakras. I saw Ian's eyes light up.
Like a little bit more traditionally, like you have to understand that it's not that I disagree with, obviously I know nothing about the Masons compared to you, but like I'm Jewish, right? So like I may not be as on board with my religious symbols being utilized in another theologies, philosophies.
Well, I'm Jewish too, so
But I could say the same thing about things I've seen in evangelical churches or things I've seen it's like, you know what, I could whine about it all day long. I mean, in fact, you could talk about the Old Testament and the New Testament, but the point is I'm happy it's like
we use Hebrew and we use Hebrew letters and all of that in Freemasonry.
When I first saw a Freemason book, I thought it was Hebrew.
Right.
Is it based off the Kabbalah, or is it something different?
Well,
it's involved.
It's involved. It's involved because that goes way back, because you also have to think in the practicing of those kind of that type of magic. If the Knights Templar were involved in practicing Kabbalistic magic, that would be perceived as witchcraft and other types of things.
And then the Pope would kill them and execute them.
But Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Illuminata in the 1500s, was practicing Kabbalah, and that's who and that's where the Illuminati comes from in Bavaria by Adam Weishaupt, who was also a Jesuit priest who was picking back up where Ignatius Loyola left off back in the 1500s. So,
but like as a Bavarian Jew,
that's how I feel every time you talk about movies or video games.
But it's like all I'm saying is like it just gives me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies when you're like trying to like not have the whole world come kill you. Like, you know what I mean? Like as a Jew, just like in general. as does happen like once every few hundred years or sometimes more often, where you're just like, magic and this and that, and then I'm just into God, like Old Testament, old school.
So
just like
would you
straight
say
up God,
you guys are
like,
practicing magic?
Well, everybody is. Everything is magical. There's nothing around us that isn't magic. Every time we're trying to explain something to somebody, as soon as they understand our communication to them, we've performed a spell because now they're thinking with our information. So there's nothing that we're not doing that isn't magical. In essence, this table is magic. It wasn't once a table. It was a tree that was then brought down. It was carved, changed, cars. A car is a magic item. You know what I mean? It's been milled from the ground of taking ore and molten metal and crushing it and then shaping it and then putting it together, and then suddenly you put a chemical into it and start it up and boom, it can drive. That's magic. I mean, we're surrounded by magic. Everybody's practicing magic.
I love the metaphor of casting a spell, and when you make words, you spell them.
Yeah.
The word spell.
That's 100%. That's where it comes from.
What makes you want to become a Mason? What do you get from it? Be it emotional, physical, or what?
Well, I mean, initially I did it because my family, but once I realized, that was what my attraction was to it. But really, what it is it's a system with which you're taught it's oddly complex, but very simple at the same time. It's allegories and symbols that once you understand them, they freeze in the mind and you can access them very easy. It's a psychology, really. It's kind of a psychology.
So why not publish it regularly and make it more accessible?
It is.
To the average
There's loads of books all about it. It's just nobody buys them. Nobody's interested.
So
and nobody
Masonry
takes the time
is
out.
open. It's just that
the
not
only thing that's
interested.
closed about Masonry is just the initiation process. Everything else is wide open. All the books are out there. There's Freemasonic encyclopedia sets that you can get. You name it, you can get it. The only thing you can't get is access to the actual initiation ceremony unless you join. But at the same time, you can even get that information out there now. There's books where they've taken our code books and they've translated them and they've put them out there to the public. It's all accessible.
So why is there so many connections between like Masonic imagery and what we've come to learn about satanic rituals and Luciferian stuff? Is that just the same sort of thing as like, what I'm kind of arguing against, which is like, frequently like, the Jews run everything, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
is that the same kind of misunderstanding?
No, it's the usurpation.
Or is it,
It's the usurpation of the symbolism by Illuminists.
Like the black and white floors and the two columns and the whole thing.
All of that. See, you're going to have opposing meanings for them by different groups. So for instance, Illuminism, Adam Weishaupt, their sole goal was to infiltrate and take over Freemasonry and introduce Illuminism into the rites and practices of Masons. So in essence, when you have the Golden Dawn, for instance, and others quasi-Masonic orders that come out of Masonry, they're taking the Masonic symbolism with them,
and they're thwarting
and then they're turning it on its head. So suddenly you're looking at the Golden Dawn, going, they're using the same eye in the pyramid, and they're using the same this and that, and that's got to be Masons too. No, it's not. It's not at all.
Because that's how I got introduced to that stuff. That's why I get heebie-jeebie about it, is because when I was in college, I accidentally went to this totally bizarre communist college, and I just tried to avoid their protest classes, and I took a Yates class, and it was just Golden Dawn. Just the whole time. And I was just like, I didn't sign up for Satanism. Like, this is bizarre land.
That's
where I learned all that stuff.
Most of the founding fathers were Freemasons.
That's the Blue Lodge. That's the standard. Yeah. That's a standard three degrees. The Blue Lodge. It's that's
everywhere.
That's the founding. That's the foundation that all the other Masonic sects are based on. So even York Rite, which has I believe 6 degrees, you have to do the first 3 to get to go up those. And same with Scottish Rite. You can't get into Scottish Rite unless you've already done the Blue Lodge degrees. So it's really the bedrock.
Was it just like
But
a way of teaching and learning and knowing, like, if you're a Mason, then you know these things. I don't have to worry about you not understanding the world the way I view it. You were saying there's a lot of like mechanical metaphors involved.
Yeah, I mean, well, for instance, the 24-inch gauge, which is obviously used in construction for measuring. You use that to break up your time into 3 8-hour segments: one for work, one for rest, one for recreation. You use the square and compasses, the compass to keep your desires within due circumference. You use the square to square your actions. You use the level to remain upright. All of these analogies you apply to the self, and you are the Mason, and the edifice that you're building is in the mind. This gets into Solomon's Temple. Is that in Freemasonry there's a strong belief that the first temple was never built, that it was only built in his imagination, and that it was never actually built in physical reality.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.